Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 14th regular meeting of Walpole Select Board. It's now 7 o'clock, the time of our posted time for our meeting, so I call the meeting to order. As we always do, let's stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first on our agenda tonight, we have Chief Kelleher here for the quarterly report. Chief? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. We'll jump right in with some of our more notable incidents in the past quarter. On January 8th, officers responded to a residence where two people had overdosed. Both individuals were saved essentially by Walpole Police and Fire personnel and were expected to survive. Crystal meth was the suspected drug in that particular incident, so that was kind of unique to this area, so we're looking into that going forward. Unfortunately, also on January 18th, another overdose was reported, this time on an unknown quantity of pills. Fortunately, that victim was also given life-saving measures and survived the episode. Officers then responded to a residence in East Walpole from breaking and entering into a motor vehicle. The investigation revealed that at some point between February 2nd and 4th, the victim's vehicle was entered and the steering wheel entered the steering wheel and the airbag was stolen. Again, not a common thing we see, but we did see a couple in this past quarter. So that investigation is ongoing, although there hasn't been anything that's jumped out at investigators as of yet. On the 27th of February, officers responded to bid cars, which was along Route 1 in East Walpole. Report of a larceny. Someone overnight had stolen some rims and tires, as well as a in-dash navigation system from one of the vehicles there. Again, we had some vehicle thefts this quarter, so it was kind of a trend that we've been seeing. Also on March 3rd, officers responded to another residence for another airbag stolen from a Honda SUV. Again, investigation is ongoing. There were no signs of forced entry, unfortunately, that, so we remind everybody to lock their vehicles at night before they go to bed. On October 22nd, this is kind of a summary of an investigation that was really well done by our detectives. On October 22nd, a local tree service had their truck stolen. The truck was for sale out on the front of their property along Route 1. The vehicle was stolen at some point during the nighttime hours. After viewing video, they determined that a tractor-trailer truck had pulled up alongside, in front of the business. Someone had got out, accessed the truck, and left the scene. The truck had a big 10-foot plow on it as well, so it was really hard to miss, but it was stolen sometime overnight. After a lengthy investigation, detectives did a great job reviewing cameras up and down Route 1, determining where this vehicle had traveled to, and eventually was able to determine that the suspect had used a debit card at a business in Westwood and was able to identify the individual through that. Lots of other investigation went on relative to this with a bunch of different things that came into play, and they were able to get probable cause for two individuals, one of which was taken into custody, and an accomplice which still remains at large at this time, but there's a warrant out for their arrest as well. So again, just a good case, property that may not have been recovered without their hard work, so I applaud them for not giving up on that case at all. Statistically, in the past quarter, we had 4,446 calls for service with 23 arrests. We also had 6 overdoses, none of which were fatal, thankfully, but that's a few more than we've seen in the past couple of quarters, so that's definitely not a trend we want to see, so we'll work on that. This time last year, we had 3,357 calls for service. We're up a little bit from that time with 20 arrests and 4 overdoses at that point, so we are up a little bit on all those categories. In terms of the Home for Little Wanderers, we had 45 calls for service during this past quarter. That's down a little bit from quarter 4 of 2022, which was 46 calls. And at this point, last year, we were at 52 calls for service. So again, it's all kind of the same. We continue to deal with some of the same issues with kids taking off up there. Some repeat offenders, but again, our liaisons work with them. We try to mitigate as many of those problems as we can. Thankfully, it's even though there's a bit of work up there to do, we're still in a better place than we have been in the past, which is positive. In terms of mental health calls, so far this year we had 76 calls for service, which is up from 52 this time last year, and we had a total of 633 calls in 2022, which again is in line with what we've seen in the past several years. We've been tracking these right around 600 calls, which is a significant amount. On the personnel side, one of our sergeants is set to retire in April, and we're working on our internal interviews coming at the end of this month to fill that spot. Prior to his leaving, we want to have a little overlap so we can have a little training for the new sergeant before that individual retires. So we will be bringing that position back before you at some point in the next month or so. In terms of community policing, we had a bunch, as we usually do this quarter. Dispatcher Fitzpatrick had attended the Special Olympics bowling event down North Attleboro, which was an event that was attended by 7 other police departments to try to get athletes ready for the Special Olympics, so that was kind of a unique thing. He does a lot with that organization, so that was good to see. Critical Incident Response Training, SRO Hart, Sergeant O'Connor, Sergeant Crown taught Alice at Luminous Learners, which is a daycare facility. We also did a professional development class at the high school for a lot of teachers. Went to the league school, taught their administrators as well on some of those protocols. And also work with Blessed Sacrament School, along with Officer Haber, who's here tonight, who does our radio program. We're trying to get them online with our radio system. So a lot of that training is going on in different buildings throughout the community, so not just our schools. We're kind of widening that so everybody's kind of in line with how we train people in the event of the unthinkable happens. We've been selling the union, I should say, has been selling some of the specialty Walpole PD patches, one for the Polar Plunge and one for St. Patrick's Day. Again, they're $10 each, and they've been going to charitable organizations. They make a ton of donations, so that's been great to see, and they've been very popular. So the money they raise is going to various people in need or various organizations that they decide to select. SRO Hart and Rebel went to Fox 25 and to WCVB with a number of other comfort dogs this past quarter. After some serious incidences, including the incident in Duxbury, which their reporters had responded to, they asked if a bunch of the comfort dogs would come in for the staff, and he was happy to participate in that as well. So it was kind of nice. They brought a bunch of dogs in, and he actually got on TV on Channel 5, which we've been kind of torturing him about, which has been good. But good PR for him and Rebel, the most popular cop in Walpole. So that's the highlights of the quarterly report. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any you may have.
No questions, just a comment on good police work on that truck incident that occurred on Route 1. Always impressed by the work that your team does when it comes to running those things down. There's a lot of police legwork that, got a good outcome on it, so thanks for that.
Appreciate
Any
it.
questions for the chief or comments? Glenn?
Same, not a question, just a comment, and it's on the overdose data, and I mentioned this to you probably 6 months ago or longer. It's just, my eyes always go right to that data whenever I see a report. And so it's really just keep doing more of what you're already doing, which is the follow-up and encourage people to seek treatment. And I think a reasonable goal, even if it doesn't sound reasonable, is to get that number down to 0. And we just keep doing it, keep working at it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's certainly one of our focuses, has been for some time, and it will continue to be so.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Who else? Okay. Chief?
Okay. So next up, we have an appointment for a police officer position. So tonight we have Adrienne Timmerman. Adrienne's a native of Needham. She attended the Rivers School and went on to receive her bachelor's degree from BU in hospitality administration, and then went on to get her master's degree from UMass Lowell in criminal justice. She attended the Reading Police Academy in 2015 and joined the Needham PD upon graduation, where she worked until April of last year. She served as a patrol officer, an SRO, detective, where she worked at the regional task force that our detectives are a part of. So really quite a resume and a wealth of experience and knowledge coming from another agency. She entered the private sector in 2022, but wanted to return to law enforcement, and had reached out to us because of the connections that she had with some of our officers. It's obvious to us when we interviewed her, as well as through her resume and through speaking with people at her former PD. She's got a deep commitment to the community, and I think that she'd be a great fit here with us, given how we kind of do business here. So I think it'll be a good fit for everybody. So without further ado, Adrienne?
Good evening, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. We just always ask the candidates to come up and just say a few brief words about themselves and their background, and
Of course.
what they like about Walpole and so forth.
Yeah, of course. Like Chief said, I got on in 2015. I worked on patrol midnight shifts for a couple years, and then I moved on to become the school resource officer, where I got involved in the community, teaching classes like Alice, and kind of went beyond that and did a little bit more. I did a lot of cooking classes. I have experience. I went to culinary school when I was younger, so I would teach cooking classes at the high school. I teach Fourth Amendment classes with the 8th grade. Kind of every school, you know, I'd get in with the teachers and figure out, you know, just a good way to connect with the police officers in town. And then from there, I went on to become a detective. I am married. My husband's here, and I have a 4-month-old daughter. I just bought a house in Weymouth, and I do have connections with the detectives in Walpole, and they just spoke so highly of the department. So when I thought back to getting back into law enforcement, this was one of my kind of top departments that I wanted to work for. I like the community aspect of it, and I just think it's a really strong department.
Well, that's great to hear, and certainly we welcome you and look forward to working with you and congratulate you on being brought forth as a candidate by the chief. You have a very strong resume. You've just stepped through some of it, and your educational background is really strong. You've got a lot of investigative background as well, so welcome to Walpole. Let me open up to the rest of the board. Other comments?
I would just say I agree with Jim. I think you've got a great background for Walpole Police Department. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Ben?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and
Yeah, congratulations and welcome to Walpole.
Thank you.
Okay, Ally?
Motion to appoint candidate Adrian Timmerman to the position of police officer.
seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So last and certainly not least, we have our new clinician here today for introduction. Dylan Jones, he's here with us today. He joined us at the end of January after a brief break-in period with Riverside and shadowing other clinicians in other communities. He's been settling pretty nicely with us. Obviously, we're initiating a new program here in town, so there was a lot of bumps on the road as we get this thing going, but I really thank him a lot for his flexibility and his willingness to work with us. It's been really a pleasure to have him on board. He's got a wealth of experience, not only in mental health, in counseling and in the clinical work, but also in substance abuse and follow-ups with that, which obviously, given our overdose data this past quarter, is going to be crucial to have someone on board that can do a lot of that follow-up and offer those real service people are really going to need. So he's been on a few calls with us so far. He's been around, met some of the stakeholders in town, including some of the schools, Longview Farm, and some of our group homes. So he's getting out there and getting going, and we have some work to do to smooth out some of the kinks, but I think it's really going to be a great program. So and I thank him again. I can't thank him enough for his flexibility and his willingness to partner with us and be a part of our department. So if you have any questions to me on the program, or I can bring Dylan up, or however you'd like to proceed.
Okay, why don't we bring Dylan up and... Good evening. Welcome, and welcome to the team here. Maybe you just spend a couple minutes talking about your background and maybe some of your early observations since you've been with us for, I think it's about a month now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm Dylan Jones. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been practicing for about 18 years, mostly in and around Boston, so this is different. I've done everything from like case management to in-home therapy to outpatient therapy. Like the chief was saying, I've worked with a lot of different populations, a lot of needs, everything from like DMH involved adults to DCF involved kids and families, adults with trauma, substance abuse, kind of a whole gamut. And I'm excited to be doing something different, very different from what I've done previously, and to be part of kind of sort of a pilot program. Grateful for the opportunity, grateful to the town and to the department for taking me on and being flexible with me as we kind of, grow and learn together how this is going to sort of flesh out. But I am an employee of Riverside Community Care, so I'm sort of an extension of their mobile crisis team, so I'll be doing some of that work, mental health evaluations like they do, but also, providing support to the department and doing some follow-ups and just trying to be a resource to the community and to the police department. So.
Well, we're glad to have you on board. This is kind of a long time in coming, frankly. We've gone for, I forget when we first started this, but it feels like about 6 months ago, Chief?
At the very least.
Yeah, it's been a while. And we had a candidate that didn't work out, and then now we've got you coming on board. And, you heard Glenn's comments earlier today about mental health and the noticeable increase in mental health calls that we've had over the last many years. We've got the Longview Farm and the kids up there we've started to get involved with. And so there's a lot of things that are, I think, you could really be helpful to us, as we kind of develop this program. And I do get the fact that we are developing the program and figuring out how to make it all work. So I'd be interested in hearing, a few months from now, after you've really settled in and gotten to get in the flow, just how it's working or any other observations you might have I think would be really helpful. But really pleased to have you on board, and I think you'll find you have a lot of support on the select board here, so as does the entire department. And so just let us know what you need.
Okay.
Let me open it up to the rest of the board. Mark?
I just say welcome aboard. We've been waiting for you to arrive. We're glad you're here, so I think it'll be great.
Thank you.
Ben?
Yeah, likewise. I would just echo what Jim said about, having our full support, and then hopefully, as we work through this process, and you work with the department and you work with the chief, we can get a better idea of maybe, what the day-to-day, week-to-week aspect looks like. And I would definitely be game for hearing more on that, further down the road. So, best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. And Dylan, nice to meet you. Can I just ask you a quick question? Do you have a sense of how you'll be, and I'm sure there's no shortage of potential clients in Walpole, but how you'll be sort of identifying potential clients, for lack of a better word, whether you're perusing police reports or whether the police officers in this room are making recommendations to you, or just maybe that it's really obvious and you don't have to look under rocks necessarily. But I mean, can you give me a sense of how that process will be?
Sure. It's all of the above. The police already have a number of individuals identified who are sort of regulars, known individuals in the community with mental health needs, as does Riverside, so there's overlap there. So I'll be doing some outreach to those folks. I've already gotten to know a handful of them, but also just having access to the police log and sort of staying abreast of that. Familiarizing myself with, mental health related calls and individuals in the community. So
Makes a lot of sense.
and also, like I said, responding to, like today I had to, I responded, Riverside asked me to do an evaluation at one of the group homes here for an individual who was struggling. So, kind of learning the community that way as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, good luck, and I think it probably would make sense, maybe if the chief agrees, if you accompanied him in 3 months for the next quarterly report, if you have anything to report, that'd be great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Ally?
I'm just very excited to have you here tonight. I think, as we all know, mental health is, just kind of in crisis right now. The world needs a lot of support, and for our police and fire departments, they've taken on a lot of calls for mental health in the community. To have this resource, I think it's wonderful that we're working on this program. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dylan. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Chief, anything else you want to wrap up with?
Nope, I think that's all I have for tonight. So.
Great. Well, thanks again. Good report. Congratulations to Officer Timmerman, and welcome to Dylan. And appreciate all the good work that the team does. I see you've got quite a number of people here tonight, officers of all sorts here, and we're glad to see you here. And thank you for all the great work you do protecting us here in the town. Really appreciate it.
We thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but you don't have to. So just want to let you know that.
All right, next on our agenda is the fire chief's quarterly report. So Chief Bailey is here with us tonight. Chief, welcome.
Thank you. The last time I was here was on December 6th of 2022. As we've started the new year, we finished off the year with about the same amount of calls as that we had last year, although our total calls for service was up by about 1,000, and most of that had to do with our fire prevention effort. Since 2023, we've done 806 emergency calls, 894 inspections and permits for 1,700 total calls for service. Some of the more notable things that happened over the last month, the hospital in Brockton that went down about a month ago, we were involved in the ambulance task force, one of the many that was sent over there to help evacuate patients, and we took 2 patients out of there and transported them to other facilities. With that being said, the the loss of the Brockton Hospital and the loss of Norwood Hospital has created a tremendous impact in this area. We are now required to take a lot of our patients that are less severe to other outlying hospitals, which are even further away. So we've had to adjust. We've adjusted well. We're doing a lot more transports into the city, but we're also going to places like Sturdy and Milford, which we very rarely go to. So we are spreading it around, and our staff has, like, as I said, adapted very well. There's no end in sight right now to when those hospitals. As we know, the Norwood Hospital is still very much an active construction site, and the Brockton Hospital, we have not gotten an update on, so other than that, it would be several months before they get back. So, on the fire prevention end of thing, our fire prevention officer was accepted into the certification class. He's in week number 3 of 5. That class is in Hyannis on Wednesdays. He'll be heading down there again tomorrow, and he's doing very well in that. And he's also doing extremely well in the fire prevention office itself. He's been heavily involved in the middle school project, attending their regular meetings. He's also been working with the building inspectors that we have down the end of the hall on 304s and 110s. The 304s deal with alcohol, the 110s deal with places of assembly, and we inspect those on a yearly basis, and he's been heavily engaged in that as well. On training, we had a lot of training over the last month and a half, 2 months. We've done our ice water rescue training. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of ice, so this year it was more water training, where we put on the immersion suits and then the folks go into the water and get used to the buoyancy of that suit. We go through that every year, and hopefully we have ice and that way they can break through and give them more realistic, but this year has been a little off with ice, other than today. We had 2 full days of hands-on at the old Leo's Pizza. You probably saw us up there. That was a voluntary basis of everyone that participated in that. They spent 2 full days there, going through many different types of evolutions, and it was great hands-on training, especially for some of our newer folks. EMS Rounds is a monthly occurrence where we go and we do updates on the runs that we've had, and we get feedback from the doc. We also had an IO, interosseous, which is, we use that in trauma patients. It's a drill that puts IV fluids into the patient, in through the bone, and quick clot training, which is bleeding control. We also had mandated training from the state that we were able to accomplish. It was a little bit of a challenge for us with having to do this under such short notice, and it was called NEROS training. We now have to transport, which is a good thing, any canine that gets hurt, any police canine that gets hurt in the line of duty. We have the ability to transport that canine, and we were given training on how to handle the canine along with the handler and the things that we need to watch out for. So that was very impactful. It was both a hands-on and an actual training session at Gillette Stadium that was 2 hours in length for everyone that was involved. And everyone has since completed that. Our driver training program continues as we have so many new folks that are on board, and our building familiarizations is something that we do on a regular basis. Route 1A, we are involved in the Route 1A meetings with Carl Balda from engineering, Lieutenant Becker, and myself. That is scheduled to resume shortly. We were supposed to have a meeting 2 weeks ago, and we got snowed out, and then today's meeting got snowed out again. So that's been rescheduled for next week, and hopefully we have an update as to what the next phase is for the resumption of that project, and hopefully we can finish it up by next November. Ambulance has $2,633,903 in the account currently. As you folks know, we increased our ambulance rates a month ago. And we've been notified that we'll be in the 4th and final round of the Medicare audits. That begins in July 1st. That'll be very labor-intensive, and it's about a 6 to 9 month process where we have to turn data over back into them, which they review and get back to us. If we did not participate in the program, we would see a 10% reduction in our fees. So that is something that we are on top of, and we've done the first preliminary sign-offs getting ready for that. The budget is very tight still, but but we are constantly monitoring on both fronts. We've had several major repairs that have been very costly. Recently, it's very happy to say that all of the apparatus that was out for repair is now back in service. We received the engine back on Wednesday, and that went back into service. So Engine 2 and Engine 5, the two engines that fit at Station 2, are in service and are up and operating. On the capital front, the engines that we talk about every time I come to quarterly, we're starting to see a little bit of progress with that. The latest report that I got end of last week was late July for one of the engines, late August for the second. The new ambulance should be here in September, and I've been looking for a second ambulance to replace two of the other aging ambulances. The mileages are very high on the two ambulances, that 2 out of the 3 that we have at the station, and we are trying to find another ambulance. I have found another ambulance, and we might be able to get that as early as September as well. So we are working actively on that. Jim is aware of that. I've been working with Jim to make that happen, and hopefully we can get that finalized at town meeting and get that on order. The new command car that we have, you've probably seen it around town, Sataho, that's in service now. The grants, the SAFE grants, $5,175 for SAFE, $3,055 for senior SAFE. Those were re-awarded, and we have that money available to us as we speak. We were also awarded the fiscal year 23 firefighter safety equipment grant for $18,441. That is to purchase 9 ballistic vests and helmets for our personnel. We also applied for, I was one of 11 communities that applied for a regional grant, and that is for the blue chip IC training to standardize the incident command training for all of the fire service in all of our area within Norfolk County. They're all Norfolk County towns that are participating. That grant was sent off through the AFG as a regional grant, which sometimes gains more weight than an individual grant, so we're hopeful that we get that, and there'll be more on that if we do, and I'll be coming forward with that. The SAFER grant, the deputy has been working very diligently on the SAFER grant for the last month for 4 additional firefighters. That grant is due this Friday, and he is putting the finishes touches on it, and that should be sent off tomorrow. We're also applying for a fire prevention and safety grant for pre-planning software. Lieutenant Hover, who used to be in the office with us, is helping us with that, and we're actively pursuing that as well. No resignations, no retirements. Firefighters, Mike Curran joined us on January 9th after he graduated from the Stowe campus. Mike Shea joined us on January 20th out of the Bridgewater campus. And Jared Fahey, the last member to go through the academy currently, is graduating this Friday out of the Stowe campus as well. We have one member out on injury that I hope to have back very shortly. He's been out for about a week now, and night before the 4th is back on July 3rd, and we are actively taking donations. That's it.
Great.
I could just make a comment.
Sure, go ahead, Jim.
So the ambulance, I mentioned this individually to some of the board members. The plan here is to go forward as we did last spring to try to get ahead of this ambulance situation. Obviously, I think the ambulances have 100,000, 86,000, and 84,000 miles, give or take, on them. So they're getting worn in pretty good. The newest ones are 2019, oldest ones are 2014. Am I right on that?
Correct.
I think. So the plan is to try to stay ahead of this, obviously, because of the production that takes some time. I think the chief might have lucked out. So with the board's blessing, we're going to go forward under Article 3, which is the in-year budget adjustment, funded through the ambulance reserve receipt account, and at least get it ordered. We don't pay for the ambulances until they actually come in, so it's just more of a transfer from ambulance reserve receipts to this capital account that Jody will set up. So the board, let me know if you don't have a problem with that.
Okay, and are we going to talk about that article tonight?
No, that one Finance Committee hasn't
They
taken
haven't
up.
done
They
it yet,
won't for
okay.
a couple
All
of
right.
weeks.
Do you want us to?
No, if you have a problem with it, let me know now. If not, we'll go forward and you guys can vote on it at a later date.
Okay, good. So I have a couple things. I want to just comment on some leadership things that you've been doing, Chief, which have been outstanding. Number one is getting up to full staff on the hiring. This has been a challenge, finding people and having people that are either injured or retiring or transferring out to other places. We've gone through a tough period, which of course has then hit the overtime budget pretty hard. And so you've done a really good job in the last several months of getting people on board and getting them through the academies. As we just heard, we've got one more to get through the academy, and I believe that gets you up to full staff. Is that correct?
Yes, it does. It gets us to 4 groups of 11.
Which is outstanding. And that, of course, will have the, effect of reducing, it won't eliminate the need for overtime, obviously, but it'll reduce it, and certainly won't see the levels of overtime required, as we have, because we've really been so understaffed. So now the key is to just maintain that, and, I realize that that's a hard thing to do because you never know what's going to happen, but it's great to see us, getting to the point we're at, full, having everybody on board and really having a full complement of everybody. So congratulations to you and great leadership on that. Thank you. Second thing I wanted to comment on was you had this confluence of events that occurred a few weeks ago with the 3 engines that ended up really going down all at the same time. And that's not something that we would expect to see happen, although it does, as it did. And I thought your reaction to that and your response to that was really strong, moving the engine from the East Walpole station up to the Central station, getting one of them back in a super fast time. I know you had some influence on that, and getting one back, and then figuring out where we should be making, repair investments and where we shouldn't be, and how to think about what the longevity on those trucks are. So I've been real impressed with all the work you've done on that. I'm glad to hear we have all the engines back, and now I think we have to turn our attention to the ambulances, as we have been talking about here. You mentioned with Brockton down and Brockton Hospital down and Norwood Hospital down, your runs are extended. That's more miles on the equipment and, more deterioration and so forth. So, yeah, we absolutely need to get ahead of that, and I think at least you have my support for that. I'm sure the board will opine on that as we go forward. But I think that the department is really operating quite well right now, and I just wanted to make sure that I commented on that.
Well, thank you, and the staff with that, all of that juggling around was fantastic,
Yeah, it
too,
was.
because there was a lot of moving parts, and the staff that normally is at one station had to move everything up here, so they deserve a lot of credit for that as
Yeah,
well,
absolutely,
making that all
Chief.
come
Yeah,
together.
absolutely. All right, let me open it up for the rest of the board. Anybody want to comment?
Yeah, I would just add on to Jim's comment, I'm looking forward to seeing that new equipment come in. And you have our support with the long lead times. As we keep going along, let us know when it's appropriate to start thinking about the next new thing, if you want to think of it that way. And
Sure.
I would ask you to also think about other, your air packs and other equipment, where are we on our, you don't need to tell me today, but where are we on our recycling plan, recycle the old stuff out and the new stuff in, but, keep us up on what's going on there as well, because, we want to see the equipment rotate in at an appropriate time, so,
Absolutely.
yep, thanks.
Thanks for the update, Tim.
And all the comments other than good leadership and good job.
Thank you. A lot exciting to hear so many grants that we were able to obtain.
Yeah, we pursue everyone that we possibly can, so they take a little bit of time, but they're worth it in the end, so.
They're certainly worth it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Chief, great update.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is a discussion of possible vote on cemetery rules and regs and the fee schedule. One of the roles that we as select board members play is that of cemetery commissioners. And as such, we oversee the work, the grounds, the fees, and so forth of the cemetery. So I think we're here to talk about the rules and regs and some changes that we're bringing forth there, Rick.
Correct.
And also the fee schedule. So Rick Mattson's here to talk about that. So Rick, I'll turn it over to you.
First of all, thank you for having us tonight. With me is Superintendent Justin Monter and Foreman Dan Cole. They're the guys that reviewed these rules and regulations and fees and requested that we bring it forward to the board. As you're probably aware, these regulations haven't been revised since 2011, I believe. It's a long time coming. These guys put some research in and, again, brought this package forward tonight for discussion and hopefully revision. As far as the rules and regulations go, there are no revisions proposed in Section 1. You'll see that there are revisions in Section 2, most particularly subsections 1 and 2, which are directly related as to who can purchase a cemetery lot in the town of Walpole cemeteries. It was somewhat restrictive and somewhat difficult for these guys to manage in terms of trying to track down an immediate family member of somebody that was buried in the cemetery. These guys have assured me that there's adequate space to open it up to non-residents as well. So you'll see that in sections 1 and 2. We propose, under this proposal, to remove those two subsections and open it up to everybody. The other change in section 2 is in subsection 7, which is the so-called extra depth, double deep grave. Those are inherently dangerous for the guys when they dig them, particularly if they're adjacent to an existing grave. We are asking that the board consider removing that from the regulation altogether. That's it as far as rules and regulation changes are concerned. On the fee schedule, the guys have requested that we increase the, most of the cost by, I believe it's $100. If you look, I believe you have before you the old and the proposed rates. Again, these have not been looked at or increased, to my knowledge, since 2011. So maintenance costs, labor costs, and all the equipment costs associated with maintaining these cemeteries has gone up significantly in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
12 years, I'm sorry.
So as I looked at them, and we'll get other voices from the board, I thought what you were recommending looked reasonable, especially since it's been 12, 13 years since we've looked at this. And to your point, the costs have gone up, and it doesn't appear as though any of these costs are extraordinary. They're reasonable in my mind.
Right, and these, the guys researched abutting communities.
Yeah.
And even, I believe, even with these increases, we'd still be behind a good majority of them in terms of fees.
So perhaps what we ought to do is, if we go through and approve these, maybe not wait another 12, 13 years, but,
I agree.
some reasonable number of years, and then maybe come back with a real more exhaustive review of how we line up against other communities and try to get somewhat more in line.
Right, and what we should do is monitor, the department will monitor
Yeah.
surrounding communities and see if the time comes. I mean, I don't believe that there'll be any further need to revise the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I think once if you choose to adopt the proposed regulations, I think we'll be okay. But the fees, that's kind of a moving target and something that should be reviewed regularly.
Periodically, sure. So my other comment, back to the rules and regs, is on the extra deep. So I think what is happening here is, in some cases, we're putting two burials in.
Right, one on top of the other.
Site, one on top of the other. So, and I think the rationale there is it's, husbands, wives, things like that, and I know my mom and dad over at Island or in Norwood are like that. So what would we offer instead of the double deep?
Well, I believe the agreements that are currently in place will be honored.
Okay.
So we're not going to change that in any way.
Okay.
As far as proposing how we would do it, I'll open that up to you guys. Would it be side by side, or?
Yeah, side by side, because even in some of the other cemeteries that we looked at, even if we increase the fees of what our lots would cost, would still be substantially cheaper than one lot
Gotcha.
in some of the other cemeteries.
Okay. I think it makes sense. I mean, the safety point that you
Yeah,
made.
it's a trench collapse
Yeah,
danger
yeah,
is
you
what it
just,
is.
no one needs that, so, okay, good. So I'm good with the reg changes and with the fee schedule. Let's go to the rest of the board. Other points of view?
Same thing, I'm good with the changes and the increases in fees, so they look reasonable.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate y'all bringing it forward and the research that you did and getting the other costs and whatnot. I mean, it's really important that we update these things when we need to, so thanks for doing that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm curious about perpetual care. Is there a fund that we have set aside, or does that money just get spent in annual?
There is a perpetual care fund.
Yeah.
These guys can explain it better than I can.
Yeah.
So when you pay for a plot, there's two payments you're making. You're making one for the plot itself and one goes to perpetual care. The perpetual care amount can only be used for maintaining and upgrading the cemeteries itself. It can't be used for any other. So it's like, basically, it's just a set of money that is specifically designed just for the cemeteries. It can't be touched by any other area in town.
And do you use it from year to year, or do you?
So it's a account that goes up, but when it comes time, the cemetery guard will go to JJ, and then we'll discuss it and see if it's something worth going into perpetual care or going out of our normal budget.
And if I could add, the board grants permission for that. So usually when we come forward, it comes to the capital budget committee. If it's a mower or a wall repair, capital considers it, makes a recommendation. And then if I agree with it, I'm going to bring it to capital, and then I bring it to your board for approval. Ultimately, as a cemetery commission, you control the purse strings on that.
Okay,
I
got it.
think we've used it for like headstone and foundation repair and stuff like that.
Okay, that's good.
I'm good with the increases. I think it's important with any fees that we're continually monitoring that and on a regular more basis, looking at these fees comparing to other towns. I think when we don't raise them on a frequency, we become that we're very much behind other communities. So the only other question I had was with the extra deep, and your explanation is explains what needs to be done. So thank you.
Okay. Ally?
Motion to approve the updated cemetery rules and regulations and fee schedule.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Rick, thanks very much for being here tonight. Thanks for the great work, guys. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is open forum. So anyone here to speak at open forum? Bill Hamilton, please come to the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the sewer and water meeting last night, and Pat Fasinello, who's our representative for the MWRA, stated that the MWRA is a state agency, and it has Commonwealth of Mass license plates on their vehicles. Learning that, I always consider them private. They pay property taxes on their sludge site in Walpole. I would hope that, being a state agency, it would be more quicker to convert the sludge site to a reservoir, which would be fed by the Stop River, protected by the Correction Department, and wanted by the Correction Department, Norfolk, Rentham, and Walpole. So I'm hoping that a conversation between Walpole and the MWRA to do that could be started. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else? No one else here for open forum. Okay, on to new business. We have a couple of bid awards. Jim?
First thing up is pavement markings at various locations. Rick and Drew have reviewed the various bids we received, and they recommend award for contract 23-17 to Proline Finish Corp. In Halfway Pond Road in Plymouth with a low price of $36,375.
I only had one question on this, and Rick, maybe it's for you. And this may sound like a silly question, but it's about durability. The quality of the paint that's used to actually put down on the road, is there a standard around that they have to meet?
There is a standard that's Mass DOT.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you. Any other questions for Rick? Okay, Ally?
Motion award 2023-17 pavement marking at various locations to Pro Finish Line Corp.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 500.
Next item up is crack ceiling bid number 23-18. Recommend favorable action in the amount of $54,560 to award to crack ceiling to Seal Coating Inc., based in Braintree.
Any questions for Jim or Rick? Ally?
Motion award 2023-18 crack ceiling at various locations to Seal Coating Inc.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Great. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Okay, now we're moving on to discussion of the spring 2023 warrant articles for the town meeting. Jim?
Sure. So what you have before you is the articles that Finance Committee has already considered. So I'd like to ask that the board start to take up these articles so we don't get behind in them. The town meeting is fast approaching. I know you probably can't tell by the weather. So first up is Articles 5 through 8. These are the sewer and water articles. Two of them are for the in-year budget adjustment for the sewer and water department. which at this time it doesn't appear as though we're going to need anything. That's Article 5 and 7. Article 6 and 8 relate to the operating budget for both the sewer and water department. I'm pleased to report that at this time it doesn't appear as though any retained earnings are necessary. The sewer and water commissioners have done an excellent job working through the various budgets this year. Finance Committee agreed and voted favorable action on Articles 6 and 8 and no action on Article 5 and 7.
You know, my only comment I'll make is it was great to see the sewer budget and the water budget come through with no impact to retained earnings, which I think is a big step forward, and congratulate the water and sewer commissioners for some really great work there, along with the finance team, Jim.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jim on any of these articles? Okay, then let's just go through them one at a time with motions, if we could, Ally.
Motion for no action for Article number 5.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 500.
Motion for favorable action on Article 6.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Motion for no action on Article 7.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Motion for favorable action on Article number 8.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Article 9 is relating to the snow and ice budget. As of the time of this writing, the balance was about $520,000. I'm sure it's less as a result of the storm today. I think we did luck out a little bit compared to the rest of the state. So once again, I'm recommending no action on this. It appears as though we're going to have some money left over and no transfer will be needed.
Any questions for Jim?
And so that remaining money will flow back into free cash, I imagine?
General fund and falls free cash, yes.
Yeah, okay.
A motion, Ally?
Motion no action on Article number 9.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Next article up is once again a no action recommendation. That's the unpaid bills. Right now, we don't have any unpaid bills to consider.
Okay, questions? Ally?
Motion for no action on Article number 10.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Article 17 is relating to the Walpole Media Corp budget. Walpole Media Corp submitted a request totaling $519,414.59. This, as you know, is the operating budget for fiscal ¡24 for Walpole Media. What happens is we generally take in the funds each year, and then town meeting appropriates the money to Walpole Media Corp. I recommend favorable action in the amount of $519,414.59.
A quick comment, I was pleasantly surprised to see the note in the supporting documents that in 2021, they produced 1,163 original programs. In 2022, that number increased to 1,982.
Tamara and Gina doing a great job.
Yeah, really, that's impressive. And then my question was, just thinking about the Johnson Middle School and the capital budget, it doesn't look like anything on their capital plan is directed to Johnson, the new middle school. I said Johnson, the new middle school. Is there a thought that we would be asking them to help with some of the media?
They are contributing. It's very minimal in what they're contributing. They're looking more to contribute at the high school towards that. Right, Pat? Yeah, that's what we discussed with them. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions for Jim? Ally?
Motion for favorable action on Article number 17.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Next up is non-substantive clerical errors. This is something that Liz had.
Did they do
Oh,
it
sorry.
Article 18?
It's 18.
Yeah, 18.
Is the surplus properties, my bad. Finance Committee talked about this probably the most out of all the items so far. They asked for the backup information specifically relating to Town Hall. We also provided them with the information on the East Walpole Library as part of the recreation study that was conducted earlier in '22. They voted to separate all three items out into three separate motions, so it's going to be known as 18A, B, and C. So town meeting can vote and consider each one alone, that's kind of the way we set this up and worded it in anticipation of it coming. So they voted 11-0-0 on all three motions, but to keep in line with what the FinCom voted, so I'd recommend the board take it up as Article 18A, B, and C separately and consider each one.
Okay, any questions for Jim? Ally?
Motion for favorable action on Article Number 18A.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Motion for favorable action on Article 18B.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
A motion for action on Article Number 18C.
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
Okay. Next one is clerical errors. Liz is proposing this to allow her some flexibility to go in and make some changes to clerical and typographical errors. This has been on the recommendation, the books for recommendation from town council for a few years, just to go in and fix any Scribner's errors, very minor items. It's just going to help move things along a little bit better.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Questions for Jim on this one? Ally?
Motion for favorable action on Article Number 19.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
Next two articles is Article 20 and 21. The Board of Assessors for Articles 20 and 21 are looking to expand their exemptions. And I did do a write-up in here. I'm looking to see if I have it. Chairman Fisher was before the FinCom, and these were well received by them. If you ask me the specific amounts, here's the details of it. It's for the senior citizens surviving spouses, that's Article 20, and then 21 is once again for senior citizens. This goes in line with something that the board's tried to do over the last 5 or 6 years, expand as much opportunities as we can to our seniors and some of the other people in town that may have a tough time having ends meet. So I recommend favorable action on this. Finance Committee voted favorable action on it unanimously.
And so the effect of Article 20 would be to adjust the asset limit every year using the CPI.
Yep.
And in 21, the effect is to adjust income and asset limits every year, also by the CPI.
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Jim? Comments? Ally?
Motion for favorable action on Article Number 20.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
And motion for favorable action on Article Number 21.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
And last item up for tonight is the citizens petition requesting the town to pave Eastland Circle. I believe it's 5 houses on that road. All 5 people signed the petition. They want to get this done. It would be done and funded through basically a lien or a betterment assessment to their property. The estimated amount, and it's a conservative estimate, is $185,985. I'm pretty confident we can come in at a lower number, but we wanted to make sure we had enough protection so it gets done during the paving season this year. So once again, they recommended favorable action on this one. I believe that vote is unanimous also. So.
Is that a town road or is that a private road?
No, it's not a
Yeah.
town road.
Yeah. Is it going to
They
be?
do have town water and sewer infrastructure down there, but they don't meet the width requirements.
Got it.
That's why they're doing it through this way. They've been working with Maggie and now Carl for many years to try to bring this up.
And we've done this on other roadways in town historically.
I believe we have, but we haven't done it in my time here. But this is something that they've researched, and this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, it's not going to be anything added on to the rest of the
Right.
taxpayers in town.
Right.
They want to pay for it, and they want to take advantage of our good pricing and everything here.
And so what it boils down to is the 185,000 and change gets divided up 5 ways.
Yeah.
And liens are set up on
Yeah,
the
I
properties.
think it's
and-
up to 20 years.
Got it, okay. All right, questions for Jim?
Does that include stormwater installation? Do you have it or no? It doesn't, so,
Does not.
okay. Just wondering.
Mark?
And the wording's good?
The wording is good.
Council's happy with the
Actually, the petitioner has worked with this office and, the DPW for a long time on this, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, Ally?
Motion for a favorable action on Article Number 23.
Second.
32, sorry.
Oh, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500. Okay. That wraps up those articles, and we'll deal with more as the FinCom does their work.
Sure.
So, where are we? Next, so we have a request for Wines and More. Aoife, anything that we need to talk about on that?
No, everything
Pretty
is all set,
straightforward.
and the fingerprinting has been taken care of by the police
Good,
department.
okay. Any questions from the board members? Ally?
Motion to approve request of Wines and More for change of manager to Thaddeus Kraus.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0-0. We have a resignation from Elizabeth Chase from the Walpole Cultural Council. I just wanted to comment on this. Elizabeth sent in a note for her resignation and point out that she's involved with, I think as a library trustee, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was a library trustee as well. And I just wanted to, just comment on the fact that it's great to see people volunteering for multiple things, and certainly understandable when someone has to step down from one because the other one is ramping up. And just really appreciate Elizabeth's willingness to do both, and wish her continued success on the other one. Ally?
Motion to accept the resignation of Elizabeth Chase from the Walpole Cultural Council effective March 31st, 2023.
Seconded with regrets?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0-0. Okay, we have Wingfoot running for a Go Fi Dog doggy walk and 5K. Any questions on that from the board members? Aoife, everything good on that?
Yeah, this is their second year that
Yep.
they've actually had the event, so.
Good, okay. Ally?
Motion to approve request of Wingfoot Running for Doggy Walk and 5K on May 20th, 2023, beginning at 9 a.m. in the Fisher School area.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Consent agenda?
Motion to accept with gratitude the following donations: Christopher and Diane Feely in the memory of Ron Renaud to COE Gifts, Yvette Morel to Walpole Trails Gifts, various donors tonight before the 4th, Dedham Savings to Walpole Cultural Council, Patrick and Mary Ellen McGrath in memory of Paul Lazaro to Walpole Trails Gift, anonymous donor to the Fire Gift Account, various donors to the Willard Pond Access Gift Account.
Seconded with thanks.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Minutes of February 28th. Ally?
Motion to approve the minutes of February 28th, 2023, as presented in our packet.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? You're gonna, you weren't there.
I'll still vote yes.
Okay. 5-0-0. Okay, Town Administrator's report. Jim?
Sure, just 3 items to get to. St. Patrick's Day, obviously Friday's a big day in Walpole. We're going to be starting the day over at the COA with breakfast for the seniors, then moving over to the center so that the chiefs and I can give Rich the key to the town. Hopefully the weather holds out and it should be a fun day. Warrant Finance Committee and Town Meeting. Finance Committee, as I said, is making their way through the budgets and the articles. Their next meeting's March 27th to go over the zoning articles. They're likely going to have everything wrapped up by April 6th, hopefully. Planning Board's set to hold their public hearing on March 16th. The warrant is set to be sent to the printer on April 7th. And packets are to be delivered to town meeting reps April 20th. So we're plugging along. We're in full mode. We're ready to go. One other thing, I want to address the elephant in the room as far as some of the recent bank issues throughout the country. It triggered something with myself and Lisa and Jody. Yesterday morning, I asked them to go out and find out if we're impacted at all. And bottom line is we're not. We didn't have any investments with SVB or Signature Bank, and there was our First Republic either. But I did ask them, what do we do? What's our protocols, just to make sure? So we monitor all of our investments with VeriBank ratings to make sure all the banks we have are in secure bank accounts. We currently use all green-rated banks, which says the institution equity exceeds modest percentage of its assets and had a positive net income during the most recent reporting period. If they dip to a yellow, which Lisa said one of them did a few weeks ago, she immediately calls them, says what's going on, and there was some type of a mistake made there. It was fixed the next day. So we currently have about $161 million in cash in 12 different banks and 2 investment firms. We reached out to Bartholomew, one of our investment firms, and spoke to them today. They hold our stabilization funds, OPEB funds, and some of our bond proceeds. They provided us with an overview of what happened and, more importantly, answered the question, were we impacted? Obviously, none of the investors at Bartholomew and Company have any direct exposure to Silicon Valley Bank or First Republic or Signature Bank. They explained that the markets have reacted to each of these events with fear and uncertainty, as you'd expect. The values and investment accounts will have reflected this volatility. With the interest rates, they've declined rapidly today, and the equity market is volatile across the board. They do believe that the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and the FDIC has helped minimize the situation. They've been diligent with their selection of the investment securities and money funds, and are confident in their positioning, and will continue to closely monitor the situation. So with that, I did ask Lisa to go ahead and set up a Zoom or phone call with the two firms that manage our investment funds, just to, some type of reinsurance. I've asked that to happen between, the end of this week, beginning of next sometime at this point. But obviously, we don't know how this is going to impact, how long it's going to go on for. Are there going to be other situations with banks, or is it going to level off? But we're keeping a close eye on it. And as I was writing this, I was reminded that 3 years ago today, I think I was making a similar announcement in regards to COVID, and that we were closing downtown buildings, and we were just new to Zoom. So we've gone through crisis before. We dealt with this in 2008 to 2010. I hope it doesn't get bad like that. But I think we're in a much better situation than we were back, 15 years ago, as far as we've grown our stabilization from 1.7 million to 10+ million. We've established another stabilization account. We have we've set aside money in free cash for situations like this. We spread our money out among the 12 banks and the 2 investment firms, and everything isn't just with one place. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, but I did want to let the board know it's on my radar screen. It's right in the middle right now. So
Good.
yeah.
Questions
That's
for
it.
Jim on that or anything?
Yeah.
Good update, Jim, thank you. Okay, anything else for the board? Okay, motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500, we're now adjourned. Patrick from Walpole Media, thank you for your help, and good night, everyone.